And one of those MPs that has written to the Attorney General's office calling for those sentences to be reviewed is the Conservative MP from Mid Leicestershire, Peter Bedford, who joins me now. Peter, thank you so much. We just heard that clip listening to Susan Kholi, the daughter of Bhim there. How do you feel listening to Susan?
Susan is so brave that she's continuing with this campaign, particularly after the horrific events that her and her family have had to endure. I met Susan earlier this week and we discussed her campaign and we discussed what she wants to achieve. And I think she's being so brave in taking this forward. I mean, I've been a member of Parliament for Mid Leicestershire, which includes Braunstone Town, where tragically this incident happened just over a year. And this was one of the first things that came across my desk last September. And I was so disgusted when I heard the sentencing of these two individuals that the very next day, as you say, I wrote to the Attorney General to request a full review of the sentencing because, you know, as Susan mentioned, the girl never even got a custodial sentence. I mean, that's disgraceful and that's far too lenient.
So you were one of these people, as you say, that's written to the Attorney General's office, and the sentences that they got, just to remind everyone listening, the 15-year-old boy was sentenced to 7 years in custody for manslaughter. The 13-year-old girl was given a 3-year youth rehabilitation order and made subject to a 6-month curfew for the same offence. Peter, what do you think would have been proportionate?
Well, as Susan said to me on Monday, you know, if a child can do an adult crime, they should be doing the adult time. So, you know, in this case, they were not convicted of murder. They were convicted of manslaughter, which is, I mean, I question that, but the courts have made their judgment on that. So they should receive a far longer custodial sentence, you know, into the 10, 20, 30-year sentence, custodial sentence for the type of crime they committed. Remember, you know, Susan and her mother have lost their father, lost their husband. These individuals are going to be outside. I mean, the girl's already out, but the young boy is going to be out by his 18th birthday. You know, Susan and her family have got a life sentence.
And it's such a difficult listen. Just, you know, talking about this, I'm just acknowledging that, you know, I appreciate that this is really a very difficult subject. Why did you feel as an MP, and, you know, Conservative MP for Mid Leicestershire, that it was important that you write to the Attorney General's office?
I think it's important that we send a message. You know, there are lots of antisocial behaviour, crime going on these days, particularly by younger people. And I think that goes beyond just this case, but more as a societal issue, that younger people perhaps haven't got the discipline they used to have years and years ago, that parents don't feel able to perhaps discipline their children as they did 10, 20, 30 years ago. And as a result, some young people are going out there causing antisocial behaviour. And in this particular case, it, of course, escalated to a man losing his life. So I think this goes more fundamentally to how as a society we hold parents accountable for the actions of their children.
And I think it's important to recognise, you know, I know you said earlier about the fact that they were children. I think Susan mentioned it in her report there, in her interview there. Whilst they were doing an adult crime, they still are children. You must recognise, of course, that the judge in this case would have taken everything into consideration, including their ages. Is a tougher prison sentence the best thing to rehabilitate them?
Because even though they're children, you know, we all know right and wrong. We know attacking someone to the point where you've actually killed someone is wrong. You know, if you're 12, if you're 20, if you're 40, we all know that is wrong. And with a custodial sentence comes the chance to rehabilitate someone. Now, the young lad, as Susan mentioned, he'll be out by his 18th birthday. Is that sufficient time to ensure that he has the rehabilitation that he requires, so that when he is eventually released, he won't then go on to harm someone else? I don't think so.